Wouldn't it be nice to live a simpler life, to reclaim time and energy to do the things that really matter to us? I think this is a thought that many of us share because there's been a marked rise in the popularity of cottagecore content. This content portrays living the simple life, unadorned country living, harmonized with nature, with plenty of free time for things like hobbies and gardening and wilderness expeditions. This content is a dreamy escape from our fast-paced urban lifestyles. But unfortunately, most of us can't just get up and leave to live in a cabin in the woods. But what if I told you that we could achieve the effects of such a life just by implementing a few key habits? That's what we're going to explore in today's video, and a brief thanks as well to our friends at Audible for sponsoring today's video. We're going to chat more about them later on. The key to a simple life is to find out what really matters to us and then to strip away all the rest. Most of us feel too busy and overloaded, and we say yes too much. We end up overflowing our schedules and we buy all of these things, maybe because we feel it's expected of us or we see other people doing it and we feel that we should be too. We passionately want it all, and this pursuit of more drowns out what matters the most to us. To live a simpler life, we need to move beyond the belief that everything is important. We need to get into the habit of thinking like an essentialist. As Greg McEwen puts in his audiobook Essentialism, a non-essentialist is someone who thinks that pretty much everything is important and they want to do it all. This non-essentialist thinks that in order for something to be made better, something needs to be added. An essentialist, on the other hand, thinks that very few things are important, and they only make time for the vital few rather than the trivial many. In order for something to be made better, the essentialist thinks that something needs to be taken away. Thinking like an essentialist helps us distinguish what's merely okay from what's truly great. To create a simpler life, we want, wherever possible, to eliminate the non-essentials in order to create space for what matters the most to us. The problem is we get so attached to the things that we own. In psychology and behavioral economics, the endowment effect is the idea that we value objects and opportunities higher if we already own them versus if we didn't. And because of this, we have a hard time letting go of our stuff. So one way to live more intentionally is to get into the habit of challenging this endowment effect by acting as if we didn't already own that thing. So for example, in deciding what to do with that blue pair of jeans that's at the back of our closet, we could ask ourselves the question, what if I did not already own these jeans? Would I put in an effort to obtain them right now? And this applies not just to possessions, but to our commitments as well. If I didn't have the opportunity to attend this event, would I put in an effort to create the opportunity myself? If the answer is no, it's safe to say that these things aren't essential to us. So we can make more space for the things that are essential by letting these things go or by learning to say no. Getting into the habit of saying no is the most powerful tool in our arsenal to regaining time and creating a simpler life. When we don't say no, our time bleeds through a million paper cuts, through things like an internet distraction, or tidying items we didn't even need in the first place, and social obligations we don't even really want to go to. So when should we say no? I've been using something that I learned from Greg as well. He says if it isn't a hell yes, it's a no. And there's no doubt that saying no is hard, especially when we're saying no to people. We have a deep-rooted desire to be liked, and we don't want to let people down, and we feel guilty when we decline someone's request. But we do forget that denying the request is not the same thing as denying the person. We can still kindly and compassionately thank them for the thought, for the invitation, and also firmly say, it just isn't possible this time. And this isn't to say that we're saying no relentlessly or just for the sake of saying it. We're just saying no to the non-essentials to free up time and space so that we can say a big, wholehearted yes to the essential few. Creating space is another key step towards living a simpler life. An off-the-grid cabin in the woods, I feel, is alluring because it provides digital and physical and mental breathing space that distances us from the stresses of life. So why not create this kind of space in our everyday lives as well? It can be a bit challenging since we now live in a world where our phones are always at our fingertips. Something is always competing for our attention. And the non-stop stream of news and fresh content is great, frankly, for whenever there's a dull moment. But this elimination of boredom has also come at a cost. It's taken away precious moments of quiet. moments of mental breathing space. So instead of habitually reaching for our devices, we might want to nurture the habit of openly welcoming moments of idleness, giving our minds the space to freely wander and to give ourselves permission to simply be. Instead of looking for an immediate distraction, we can try to experience what's happening around us. How is the light pouring in through the window? Can we see any steam wisping up and out of our coffee or tea? Is there any tension in our shoulders, neck, or jaw? And can we relax them? When we create mental breathing space and learn to say no, when we eliminate the non-essentials so that we can better focus on the things that are essential and important to us, then we're very much on track to living a simpler life. And would you look at that? We didn't even have to escape to a cabin in the woods. I again wanted to also thank our friends at Audible for sponsoring today's video. Today's video was largely inspired by Greg McKeown's audiobook, Essentialism. I learned so much from this one. Greg shares a bunch of tips on how to live a more intentional life. And if you, like me, struggle with saying no, he's got a bunch of tips in there as well on how to say no very gracefully and compassionately. It's easily become one of my new favorite audiobooks. I highly recommend it. And as a new member, you can actually get this audiobook for free. You can keep it forever. Plus, you'll get a 30-day free trial. Just be sure to visit audible.com/pickuplimes. Or if you'd prefer another audiobook, you can snatch that up instead. I've personally been using Audible for well over 6 years now, and audiobooks have easily become one of the essentials in my life that I will always make time and space for, and I can't recommend them enough. As an Audible member, you can choose one new title each month from any genre, and you get unlimited access to a growing selection of titles that are included right in your membership and at no extra fee. So be sure to check out the link in the description box below to learn more, to get your free audiobook and your free trial. And I think that's it for today, friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and thanks so much for hanging with me today. I really appreciate it. Pickup Limes signing off, and we'll see you in the next video.